to the Grit Crusade, or welcome back if you're returning. Thank you so much for being here today. We have been braving crazy weather here in Arkansas with some recent damage that happened today. So much prayers go out to families affected this time of year and communities. If there is any, drives in your community, any, collecting of goods and clothes or food or anything like that, I'd so encourage you to jump onto those with reputable organizations. I know we're doing one with the community fire department to send to Mississippi, but this springtime is one of those times, for those of you watching this around when it releases, things can get crazy here in the South. And so we've definitely been enduring that today. And so I just had that on my heart and wanted to share that with you guys before we get into talking about the land of opportunity today. Yes, the famous quote from Benjamin Franklin. And that is, I ruined my trivia. I did. I ruined my trivia. Well, I'm not going to start over. I'm just going to go ahead and tell y'all. So here's the trivia question. Now you know the answer, right? Okay. So, Benjamin Franklin, the information is Benjamin Franklin in 1751 is the person who coined the phrase the land of opportunity. And so here's your trivia question. Bet you won't know the answer. This is how we do things for real when we mess up. Which former U.S. governor became a hit writer as a 16-year-old with the pseudonym Silence Dogood, which was a widow, a fictitious widow? And the answer is, bet you can't guess it, Benjamin Franklin. Here's a couple other fun facts about Benjamin Franklin as we launch today with Trivia in the Trenches that I totally ruined and failed. So much for that. Franklin actually became a hit writer as a teenager for the New England Courant. I hope I'm saying that right. In the 1720s, he was a 16-year-old and was secretly submitting essays and commentary as Silence Dogood, a fictitious widow who offered homespun musings on everything from fashion and marriage to women's rights and religion. Just think of that. And he only had 2 years of formal education, spent half of his life in unofficial retirement. He had so many achievements by the time he was 42. He just called it a day and lived a gentleman's life. He created his own phonetic alphabet. So there was like sounds that he thought were repetitive, and he was just like, screw it, I'll just do my own alphabet. Like, I mean, I write, like, if he can do that, we can truly do anything, huh? He was a fashion icon in France. He designed a musical instrument used by Mozart and Beethoven. He is a member of I actually knew this because I watched a video with my son about Benjamin Franklin. He is a member of the International Swimming Hall of Fame because one of his first inventions was a pair of wooden hand paddles that he used to propel himself through the Charles River. They're like, what are the flippers? The things that you put on your feet? They're like that, but like for hands. And then he like used them with a kite somehow and like glided along the way. I don't know. So he was a very interesting man. But there is trivia in the trenches. It wasn't very trivial today. Dun-dun. Epic fail. So I started with Benjamin Franklin today, though, because he is one of the like grandfathers of the United States and has literally invented and designed so many things. And by him coining America, the land of opportunity, or wherever it is that you're listening for this to, it really got me started thinking about the opportunities that we have in life, right? And so there are those opportunities that we are given. There are opportunities that we give others. And then there's the times where we miss out on opportunities. And so that's what we're going to dive into and talk about today, because I am a firm believer that there is no one right way to do this, guys. There's no one way that we need to get out of this life. Okay. We are guaranteed 2 things, taxes and death. And if we try to avoid either, it's not going to turn out well. And I say that, and I mean, yeah, it's kind of coy and funny, but it's actually like really true. Like, what is our plan from now until death? Michael Hyatt, and his co-author, his name's Daniel, and it starts with an H, and I know I'm going to mispronounce it, have a book called Living Forward. And in the book, they teach about writing your life story, right? Or your life plan. I'm sorry, not life story, life plan. And so it's a plan for your life. And it starts out at the beginning talking about how you want to be remembered. And in our lives, we are given so many opportunities, some that we take, some that we don't. And what do those do to the course of our lives? And what about the opportunities that we give others? So, those are the three things that we're going to dive in today. So, let's get started. So, first up, what about when we are given an opportunity? An opportunity is given to us. So, seize the day. That is all I can say. Like, do the thing. There's so many times in life that we let fear get in the way, that we're worried about what someone else thinks. It doesn't matter, y'all. It does not matter what Betty down the street or Ralphie around the corner has to say about your new job or quitting the job you hate. I mean, don't do that if you don't have like another job lined up, because that would probably be a terrible idea. But like, don't worry about other people's perception of you. It really doesn't matter. If you can't get out of that, then turn off the social media. Yeah, you heard me say it. Like, you could literally just not look at other people's stuff, because so much of us being scared and anxious and nervous to try things and not having that courage is because we are worried about what other people are going to think. What if it didn't matter? You're the one that is in charge of that. Like, you're the captain of your ship. Okay. You are the one that gets to say where those sails go. So seize the day when an opportunity is given to you. And sometimes those opportunities come in the forms of relationships. Sometimes you meet someone along the way. And I remember growing up, being in Arkansas, I heard about Bill Clinton all the time. This is not a political podcast, so I'm not even going to go there. But I remember hearing people say that he never forgot a name. And I thought, oh, wow, that's really cool. He remembered everybody. But obviously, do not have that skill. But the thing I took away from learning about him in our part of the country is that building your network is so important in the people that you meet. And you never know how that can come back around. And sometimes that's what an opportunity looks like. Sometimes it looks like you stay in that extra 5 minutes after dinner when you run into somebody you haven't seen in a while and having a genuine connection and genuinely looking them in the eyes. And sometimes that comes from you stepping out and applying for a job you're not quite sure if you're qualified for enough. Maybe you're a little scared that you can't do it, but what if you can? What if you can do it? And what if it makes all the difference? And what if it changes things? So we have to seize the day. That's the first point. There is no supposed to. Who cares what everyone else thinks? And my favorite part is you can always change your mind. So there's like this daunting thing that happens when we turn 18 years old and people are like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And none of us know. I remember I went to college and I got a business degree. So I went to the University of Arkansas. I was in the Walton College of Business. I had an excellent education. I was on a scholarship and I wanted to be like a businesswoman extraordinaire. And then I started dating this guy and he lived in Arkansas. And so I stayed in Arkansas and I got a job with some great people, but I just wasn't doing anything that was really meaningful for me. And so I changed my mind to become a school teacher. And I remember sitting at deer camp in my dad's RV. And I was sitting across the table from him and I'm like, I decided what I want to be when I grow up. And I'm like 23 years old. I'm like shaking and I'm nervous and I'm so scared. And he's like, what? I'm like, I want to be a school teacher. And he was like, that's great. But in that moment, I was so terrified to let him down because I had in my mind and this vision that he held some standard over my head that I was supposed to be something when I grew up. And becoming a school teacher was was pivotal into the next season of my life. Me learning and exploring this passion I had with kids. I mean, I was at a Y in my life where I literally sat in front of a computer and was like, what could I do? I have a bachelor's degree. Okay, I could go to pharmacy school. I could go to nursing school. I literally am squeamish at the sight of blood, so that wasn't gonna happen. I could go to med school. I could go to law school. I could do anything I wanted to do. The opportunities were endless. What do I want to do with the rest of my life? And after a lot of soul searching and a lot of talking to God and leaning into my faith, that's where the path led me and I ran with it. And I didn't make very much money. I barely made ends meet. I had terrible substituting jobs in the beginning. And I remember being at this middle school, all boys school, and them throwing pencils at me in the front of the room. And I was 23 and I was terrified. And the principal called me that night to apologize and ask me to come back. And I never returned his call because it was such a terrible experience. But those small things along the way led me to the path of a love with working with children, just not that classroom. And it's easy to say like, just not those kids. But that was definitely a penultimate tough day of my substituting career. But that opportunity, and then I got a long-term sub job and I said yes. I didn't even know what it meant for the next year, but I just said yes because I needed a paycheck. Then becoming a school teacher and then becoming a coach is what led to me ever having the courage to opening my first business. And those things are like in anyone else's life may have never been connected, but it was an opportunity I saw and kept following and kept going. I'm not smarter than anyone else. I just followed my gut in that moment, and anyone can do that. So there are these times in our lives where we have these opportunities. Take them. Don't worry about what anyone else is saying. Don't worry about if it's the wrong decision. I mean, yes, do some soul searching, reflecting. We all have brains. We need to make sure we're not like doing things irrationally. Talk it through like with people that you trust, your mentor, your friend, your pastor, your parent, your partner, whoever it is that you talk things through with, and then make those decisions and go boldly chase whatever it is that you're after. And that is what the first part is what happens when you're offered an opportunity. The next thing is what happens when we offer an opportunity to someone else. And so I found myself in this position in leadership. And so I'm a fixer. I have talked on the podcast about that before, and I am a self-proclaimed recovering fixer. So I have been married 4 times. Yep, you heard it here. I have an amazing relationship with my husband. We've been together for 7 years now. And but before him, I had 3 long-term relationships, and I was a fixer. And who was I to be trying to fix somebody, right? Like, who am I to be the person that needs to tell somebody else that they need to change something about their lives? That's not fair. And that problem lied with me, and I own that, and I take responsibility for that. I needed a lot of fixing myself, and I should have been looking in the mirror, but we're not here to fix other people. And so I precursor that with that's something I've had to work through in my leadership journey is what happens when we give someone else an opportunity. Sometimes they take it and it changes their life. And sometimes they don't. And then what? And you're like, oh, if you would just listen to me, if you would just hear what I'm saying, if you would drink the juice, if you would do the thing. The old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but can't make him drink, I heard it told differently at a women's conference a few months ago I was at that as Christians, we're called to carry people to the cross, not beyond the cross. And a lot of our stress in life comes from carrying the cross or people's burdens into places that we don't belong. Talk about conviction with that. My best friend Danny is an amazing, wise human that I have no idea how God gifted her to me in the 3rd grade. But we can't take people where they don't want to go. And so we could be offering an opportunity for someone. Maybe it's housing. Maybe it's a adult kid that's going through a transition in life that needs to move back in. Maybe it's a promotion at work if they will obtain this certification. Maybe it's an opportunity for someone to spend time with you and they don't return your phone calls. How do we walk that journey and then, recovering fixer here, not hold bitterness when they don't? And that's hard. And that's something that I don't think I have an answer to. I think it's something that I still struggle with. I mean, I know it's something that I still struggle with because as you screw up in life, you get this thing called wisdom, or hopefully you get wisdom. I mean, I'm sure there's things I still didn't catch around. Well, hell, the divorce will tell you there's things I definitely didn't catch around the first time. But I mean, you start to be chiseled and learn things from life. And when you have people that are younger, and I don't necessarily always mean an age, it could be a maturity thing. It could be younger in a journey, in a season, in a particular area of your life. Maybe you've worked in the food industry for a really long time and this person's in their first year. Might be older than you, but maybe their first year in the food industry. But it's how do you have that moment with somebody and not hold that bitterness if they don't take the opportunity. And I think that you have to, remember you were once young too, and you probably missed a lot of opportunities. I know I did. And B, you have to continue to build that relationship. Have those conversations, figure out the why, figure out their why, figure out their long-term story. I have been so guilty of in the past is I have a picture in my head of what I think someone's future should look like. Hello, there is no should. Okay. I don't need to put my should on somebody else, but I've done it and still catch myself doing it. Well, they could just be, if they would just, well, that's not up to me. These are adults. My husband says we coddle children, we don't coddle adults. Like in dealing with adults and work in your workplace, adult children, maybe it's adult siblings, your parents that are adults and you're adults. Like there is no should. We can't put our should on somebody else. Like, why are we putting that kind of expectation and weight on them when we need to be accepting and allowing for exactly where they are, who they are, and what part of their journey they're in? And so it's so hard for me to break that habit. Now it's something that I know I do after lots of therapy, and I'm conscious of it, but I'm still guilty of it. And so if you ever catch me putting my should on somebody else, put a stop up to me because I don't need to do that. It's not fair to that person because my goals for them may not be the same as their goals for them. And figuring out where that line is in leadership is hard. And that's even true of your kids. Like I talked a little bit earlier about the life plan with Michael Hyatt and his co-author. And in the life plan, you have these things called life accounts where you set up like the things that are most important to you. So I have like 10 accounts, right? And one of my accounts is crew, which is my son. I have a 5-year-old son. And I have in there, and so you revisit this life plan every quarter after you create it, or biannually or annually, kind of however you do it. I try to do it every quarter, and I'm not always great at that, but I'm trying to get in a better rhythm. And I was reading over it today, and in Crew's life, his account, envisioned future is part of what you write about. And I have written in there like that I want him to travel internationally, and I want him to, what? Are you kidding me? Like, I just stopped myself when I was reading it today thinking, why is that even something that, like, yes, I want him to experience all the things in life that he wants, not necessarily that I want for him. And so I caught myself today putting my should onto my kid. What if he doesn't want to travel? What if he doesn't like airplanes? Right? And so just catching ourselves and realizing that it's not up to us to put everyone's journey out for them. And it's damn sure not up to us to do it for them. And I'm saying that with the most humble conviction possible because I've been there and tried to do it and it never works. And anybody listening is going to be shaking their head saying, damn straight, it does not work for sure. So we have these opportunities in life, opportunities that we can give, opportunities that we receive. And then there are the times when we miss an opportunity. What happens then? So when we miss an opportunity in life, okay, why? Why do we miss an opportunity? And the first one's kind of a hard one, I'm not going to lie, is we didn't learn the lesson the first time. I missed opportunities for successful marriage because I was broken. And I didn't learn from my mistakes the first time. There are always two people in every marriage. I get that. But that is someone else's story to tell. So I'm here and I get to tell my story. And my story is taking accountability for me, not pointing fingers at anyone else. My life is my responsibility. Nobody else's. My relationship with God's my responsibility. My relationship with my husband is my responsibility. I cannot blame my assistant or my parents or whoever for my relationship with someone. It's on me now. I'm grown. I'm 38 years old. So sometimes we didn't learn the lesson the first time. And that's why an opportunity passes us by. That doesn't mean it hurts less. That doesn't mean it doesn't suck. But we got to claim it and we got to know it and have that self-awareness where we can realize that we are repeating a pattern. Okay? So we didn't learn the lesson the first time. Or maybe an opportunity passes us by because it's not the right season. My friend Denise Hipskin, years ago, and she probably doesn't even remember this, we were talking about like door wreaths. And she had several small children at home. And she said, girl, I am not in the season of life to be doing all them fancy Pinterest projects. And it really hit me thinking, oh my gosh, there are seasons of life. And I was probably about 25 at the time. And there are truly seasons of life. There is a season of rest. There's a season of busy. I hope you don't stay there as long as I did, because I did and I held on to it. There are seasons of grief, which are, for me, probably the hardest seasons I've walked through. There are seasons of joy. There are seasons of celebrating along someone else's joy. So sometimes an opportunity may pass you by and go, well, why didn't I get the chance to travel, get that job, get that promotion? Why did no one ask me to go on the trip? Why did no one ask me to come over for dinner? Maybe it's not the right season. Maybe they didn't think you were going to have childcare. Should they have asked? Probably, yeah. We'd get a whole nother conversation about that. But like, sometimes it's not the right season. Sometimes we didn't learn the lesson the first time. And sometimes our compass is just misaligned. And I have been there. I've been there. I cannot tell you how many times since starting my first business is getting caught up in the busy, getting caught up in growing bigger, doing, and realizing, wait a second, what's important to me? I've talked on the podcast before about me going to water. So when I find myself in that craziness and realize that my compass, my internal like knowing of where I'm going is misaligned from what do I really want? Like what is it that I'm trying to do with this? Then take some time alone. If you are scared to be alone, I'm pausing there for a moment so you can think about that sentence. If you are scared to be alone, there is a reason. And you need to lean into that and turn back inside, because there is a solace, a peace, a serenity between you and all of the energy of the world and everything that is divine when it is just you by yourself with your thoughts, your heart, and your internal knowing. And if that you find that compass misaligned, change it. Just like I said with the first one, when we're given opportunities, if it doesn't work out, we can always change our mind. So take that time and get that get that misaligned compass back in alignment. Get it back on the way you wanted to go. Unless you change the way you wanted to go, and change the way you want to go. And that's okay too, because it's your life. It's your story. And lastly, when opportunities miss us or pass us by, just keep swimming. Dory, just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. There's so many amazing things in kids' movies that I feel like if we repeated to ourselves over and over, it could help us through the tough times. But just keep swimming, because your day will come. I'm getting chills all over my arms and I'm teary-eyed, because I feel like there's been so many times in my life where I've had to tell myself that just keep swimming. Don't give up today. Just one more day, one more chance, one more lesson, one more email, one more phone call, because there are those seasons of life that are just hard. They're hard to get through. Your world has been shattered. You're through another transition. You've been through divorce, whatever it is, just keep swimming, because it will be your day. Your season of joy will come. There is hope, but there's not hope if you give up today, because what if tomorrow was the day and you gave up one day too early? Just think about that. Think about if you waited 25 years for something and you gave up one day too early. That would suck, right? So we've talked about what happens when an opportunity is given to us. We've talked about what happens when an opportunity there's an opportunity we've given someone else, how to release that. We've also talked about what happens when an opportunity, passes us by or we miss it. But what happens lastly when the opportunity never comes knocking? Build a bigger door. I cannot tell you that enough. If you find yourself in a position or at a dead end, find another door. I'll tell you a story about the first time I tried to buy a piece of commercial property. So we had been renting Our business doubled in size. I didn't have parking. Didn't have restrooms. I didn't have enough staff. It was literally like if I didn't find another building, the quality of our business was going to decline so much, or a better facility that could hold us. Then I probably would lose everything that I had worked for. And so I decided to buy us a building for, at that time, was Empire Cheerleading, which is now Empire Kids. And I went to the bank and I went through all of this, financing and work and everything. And, oh, wait, hold on. I got the story backwards. Let me rewind for a second. I bought our first building. So we went rental, first building, got our first building bought. Okay. Remember I was still working 2 jobs. Remember I was working a full-time job and then running the businesses and all of that. For those of you who've heard the story before. Okay. I'm trying to buy a bigger building. So I own a building. I'm trying to buy a bigger building. The same banker that was at the bank that gave me my first loan, I moved to a different bank. And so I was working with them. And I walked in with my now vice president of administration, and we sat down for what we thought was being told to us that we were going to get the loan. And they said, you need a contingent signer. And I'm like, I'm a big girl. What do you mean I need a contingent signer? And they were like, well, we're just not sure, and this isn't the banker's fault. Bankers operate in the parameters of the bank I love the man, still love the man to this day. They operate in the parameters that their bank allows. And so long story short, they were going to require me to have my dad as like, not a co-signer, but it's like a guarantor. Okay. If something were to go down at the end of the day. And I'm like, no, I wasn't comfortable with that. I had made this journey so far, solo, the solo owner of all of our companies. I had done everything on my own, and I wasn't going to ask my dad to put his retirement or something up for collateral. And so I didn't end up going with that bank. Still have a great relationship with them, but I built a different door. And so sometimes when the opportunity that you're looking for doesn't come knocking, or in my case, the door was shut in my face, find a different door, build a different door, get a bigger road, whatever it is, make those U-turns, go sideways, but don't take no for an answer, because everyone else takes no for an answer. And you are great. You are phenomenal. You have an amazing capability to leave your dent on this world. But if you don't find a way and make a way, the world will never get to experience you and all the great things that you have to offer. So opportunity is literally at every corner, but no one's going to do the work for us. There's a quote I saw on Facebook not too long ago. I feel like it's like one of those ones that comes up all the time, is like, oftentimes people miss opportunity because it showed up and looked like hard work, or it showed up in overalls and looked like hard work. Yeah, this is hard. Life is hard. But you know what? You can do it. You have the grit and determination to make it work. It's inside of you. It's inside of all of us. We were born with it. Where is it? It may take a while for you to find it, but you can. But what is it that you want? And go for it. Don't let anything stand in your way. And then if you're like me, working through giving of the opportunities to others, I hope you find yourself in that journey alongside me going, we can release this. We don't have to hold on to the bitterness. We don't have to put our should onto someone else. Until next time.
You've been listening to the Grit Crusade podcast with Brooke Plack. Our theme song is Thunder City by Lunar Ray, licensed through Soundstripe. This podcast was produced by Luminate Media Group. Thank you for listening, and we will see you on the next episode.